I think in these times it's very important to keep yourself strong, because it's these times that really test how strong we really are. Stoicism is the belief and the idea that things are impermanent, things don't last forever. And it's the idea of contemplating change and the fact that things will die and things will eventually go in the end. And as depressing as that sounds, it's one of the best ways to live your life. Because if you understand the mortality of something and the fact that something will go, and contemplate it leaving at some point, or you're not having it forever, it's the best way to cherish it and appreciate it. In these times especially, I think the key is to be strong and be stoic in the face of stress, because these situations are uncertain. We don't know what's going to happen. Right now we have to do things we wouldn't usually want to do and stay in, which isn't the worst thing, but for some people it's quite hard. I'm going to talk about 4 techniques that the Stoics used, 4 psychological techniques to make yourself stronger and callous your mind to stress and make yourself stronger overall in these sort of times. They're not easy, they're not supposed to be, but if you're willing to take them on, it's something that anyone can benefit from. The first one is negative visualization. So I know that sounds strange from the outset, but negative visualization is getting something that you have and wanting it. So that sounds strange, but what I mean by that is most of us have something called Hedonic Adaption, which means whenever we get something new, we'll get used to it, we'll be habituated to it, and eventually buying something completely new. Everyone's bought a TV that they really liked when they first got it, but years later they wanted something new, and that initial appreciation they had completely vanished. That applies to every aspect of our life, be it our partners, be it our children, be it our home, anything that we have or deem to possess. Negative visualization works by imagining and contemplating the loss of the thing in question. It could be your child, you could imagine or even contemplate their death. Sounds very depressing, but that's the point. When you contemplate the death of your child, you will understand that they are mortal and they can leave at any time. We don't know what will happen, ever. And I think these times are a sign of that exact thing. Being able to contemplate mortality is a skill which will allow for deeper appreciation and gratitude, because if you live every day like it's your last, but not in the way where you reach unenlightened hedonism, where you're constantly seeking new pleasures, because even that has its own problems. Even that isn't easy to do every day. It can't be maintained. We never know when we're going to have our last car journey, our last meal, our last conversation with someone, our last trip to the beach. We just don't know. But if we visualize that exact thing when we're in it, that will help us appreciate it and make it ultimately a lot richer. We don't need to worry about it. The Stoics heavily emphasize that worrying and contemplating are 2 different things. We don't need to worry at all. Contemplation is just merely now and then thinking about it. When you're embracing a loved one, you slowly contemplate the fact that you might not have them forever. And I believe that leads to an enriched sense of gratitude and joy in life, especially in these times where we do need to start appreciating what we have, because we don't know what we could lose in the future. So appreciate it as much as you can, because everything inevitably will go. The second thing is self-denial. So self-denial is similar in its theme, but it's completely different because it's a lot more active. So with self-denial is where you'll actively deprive yourself of pleasures. So for instance, you only eat when you're hungry. It's difficult, I know. You make things particularly more difficult than they need to be, Sometimes you might want to walk out to your garden with no clothes, with only your underpants on, to feel the cold. You can only really feel the warmth until you really embrace the cold, and that's the message of self-denial. Self-denial is the idea that by depriving ourselves of pleasures which ultimately can control us if not kept in check, which most people do, I'm definitely a part of that, we can really enrich our quality of life, because we can feel both ends of the spectrum. You can't really have true satisfaction or true pleasure without feeling sacrifice. You need to feel both ends of the spectrum. I'm not saying cut off your limbs or anything silly like that. I'm just saying small things now and then. You set yourself up with challenges, and these challenges will make you appreciate how good you really have it. This could happen to absolutely anyone. Even poor people on the street, they have their own benefits that keep them happy, that could make them worse. Their cloth that keeps them warm, that could be gone, if you see what I'm saying. I know it sounds crazy for most people that have never heard of this idea before, but those of you that know it will sort of resonate with what I'm saying. For self-denial, I like to partake in it by having cold showers, because I think cold showers, one, they're good for your immune system. Two, they definitely callous your mind to harder situations. Because especially when you first do it, cold showers are very difficult. They're not an easy thing to do, but I'm actively making a situation more difficult because it's making me stronger. Running is one of them. Running makes you mentally stronger. We don't need to run, but running, not only is it good for our cardiovascular fitness, it makes us mentally stronger. The third one is called fatalism. Fatalism is the notion that things are the way they are. Things are predestined to be the way they are destined to be. And there's two types of this. You have fatalism in the future and fatalism in the past. When I hazard a guess which one is the better one to incorporate, past. The belief that things in the future are predetermined and won't change isn't the best way to live your life, because at the end of the day, basically taking away all your sense of control, which I'll talk about in a sec. But having fatalism about the past is the idea that the past has already happened. You can't change it, and there's no point in wasting any effort or emotion, because it's just wasting your energy on something that can't change. As much as you want it to, it can't change. Which leads me into the fourth idea, which is control. So generally before, the idea of control was a dichotomy, being things you could control and things that you can't. In the book, William Irvine describes a trichotomy of control. So he covers the grey area of things that you have some control over, but not completely. For instance, winning a tennis match, or something that you set for yourself. So for instance, something you can control is the goals that you set for yourself, but you have limited control on over they actually get accomplished, because anything can happen along the way. And things that you can't control are the things you shouldn't spare any energy on, such as, the weather. People that get upset by the weather are the people that have little control, because those people want to control the weather, but they can't, but they don't know it. People that don't go outside because they don't like the weather, those are the people that put too much emphasis on outside external factors that they can't control. And in this circumstance, we can't control the situation that we're in. We can't control that this pandemic. We just have to see it out and deal with it the best way we can. And the best way we can deal with it is controlling the things that we can control, which is ourselves. We can react to this any way we want. We can react to it by panicking. We can react to it by going on social media, like looking at politicians talking, looking at conspiracy theories, making ourselves feel negative on purpose. Or we could just embrace it for now. At the end of the day, we have just time to reflect, do things like, for example, I'm doing is just what I would usually do is, my exercises, etc. Reading into things that I really like, my self-development things. And I advise everyone else to do the same. This is a great time for people to pick up a new skill, reflect, and things like that. So ultimately, all we can control is ourselves. We can wake up in the morning feeling, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do something great, and I'm going to have a great day regardless, because it doesn't matter what happens, you're still going to go to bed feeling great, because you even know at the back of your mind that the only thing you can control is yourself. It takes a very strong person to do all these things. Not saying I've done them or I am that strong person, but I just know what it takes according to the Stoic philosophy. It's still relatively early in my, development of becoming versed in this philosophy. Really something I would advocate for a lot of people, especially now, because Stoicism is a great philosophy of life in general. There's more. I will talk about it probably soon. I haven't touched upon, duty, like social duty, how to deal with people from a Stoic perspective. So I hope you guys stay safe. Take care, and I'll catch up with you guys soon. In a bit.